Okay, so we want to determine the slope and y-intercept of the given line, and then state the equation. Okay, number 3 is not bad. If they provide you with the graph, look at the graph. It's the opposite of what I've shown you. Right, so instead of going finding the y-intercept and plotting it, go like extract it from the graph. Okay, so let's start with the y-intercept. So if you're looking at this graph, where does this line cross the y-axis? Remember, this is y-intercept. Where's that line cross the y-axis? Opal? Yeah. So as a point, what's it look like?
0.
That's exactly it. Okay, it's your y-intercept. Now, it's nice because they've given you the graph. Okay, so here's how I would, so this is good. Okay, the point is 0, 2, the y-intercept, that's your starting value, right? Now, here's the next piece. Because they've given you the graph, this is kind of nice. So you have one point on the graph. How about we pick another one that goes directly through a grid line? Do we know what I mean by that? So the graph goes exactly through, for instance, right here. So you see it goes bang through the grid line. So that's a perfect point. I wouldn't pick, like, don't pick this one. I mean, that's in the middle of a box. Don't pick that. That's, now you're guessing, and that's going to give you a wrong answer. But pick one that goes directly through grid lines. So for instance, I think we said you could pick any of them. I could pick this one too. You could pick this one. It doesn't matter. Okay. Now the slope says what? Slope is rise over run. Okay. And so let's count the rise or the run. Okay. Which point do you want to start at? It doesn't matter. Remember, we're just counting how to move around, right? So I'm going to start here. How on earth could I end up here? Well, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, right? There we agree. I went up 3. Okay, we'll fill that out. Your rise is positive 3. And now what's your run? And I'll be careful with the sign. I'm going towards the negative numbers. Okay, I'm going left. Left we know as being negative. Okay, so I've got to go left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I went up 3, left 6. That's my slope. Now, just in good practice, I would reduce that, like as we have done in the past. Okay, how do we reduce something like 3 over 6 in the past? What is 3 over 6? Kenneth?
1 over 2.
It's 1 over 2. And how do we get 1 over 2? Just as a recap, divide both by 3. Okay, 3 divided by 3 is 1. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Okay, yes, Opal?
Would you move the negative to the top and the bottom?
So that's what I was getting at before. It doesn't matter, okay? Let's pretend, see how I started here, and then I counted up and then left. You could have started, this is what I was getting at, you could have started over here. Watch what happens. What's the opposite of going up and left? Down, 1, 2, 3. You could have gone, this is the same thing as saying down 3 and right. Well, positive is, to the right is positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember I wrote down all of these would be equal? That negative is out front, sorry. I'll put it in brackets. All 3 of those things are equal. And that's because they're opposites, right? I can go down right, or I can go up left. That creates the line. Okay, they're continuous there. All right. So once you have that information, you're trying to fill out, the equation we're trying to fill out is y equals mx plus b. That's the equation of a line. Does everybody agree? Okay. So why don't I write, all you're going to do, we know what m is. So we already did this. M is slope. Well, what did we say our slope was? It's 1 over negative 2 or negative 1 over 2 or negative 1/2. All right, well, that goes in for m. Y equals negative 1 over 2 x. And what's my y-intercept? Opal? It's just 2. Positive 2, right? There you go. Okay. Now there are questions, I'm sure, because I've asked this question before in grade 10 as a recap. That's the equation of the line in y equals mx plus b. But what if I ask you to do it in standard form? All right, so what if I ask you to write it like this? How's this look like this? What do you notice? Do you have, within this particular equation, do I have stuff on the right side? So your whole goal here is to move, well, you can move it all to the right or all to the left, it doesn't matter, but all of it has to go on one side. So just do the opposite of what I showed you earlier up here at this question. I want, instead of giving me y by itself, I want you to actually put everything back to the way it was, like in standard form, right? So just move everything over. So let's do that. So if I were to do this, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to take away 2 from both sides, and I'm going to add 1/2 x to both sides. Does everybody agree? Then I'll just rewrite it. Okay? There's a 0 pair. There's a 0 pair. You now have nothing on the right side. So you're just going to have an equal 0. That's what we're after. And just fill in everything else. 1/2 x plus 1y, or just a y, that's what's sitting there, minus 2. Am I done though? Everything's on the left, but what did I say? No fractions. A can't be negative. Okay? There's no particular reason why. I think some mathematician just said, this is the way it is, and we're going to do this for all of time. Okay? I don't think there's any reasoning for it. The fraction, I think just people don't like looking at fractions. I understand that one. Why it can't have negative, I'm not too sure. Okay? So how on earth could I get rid of a fraction? How have we gotten rid of fractions in the past? Remember, you always got to think like a fraction is an order of operation. You have 4 orders of operation. There's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Fractions always imply division. And how do we untie division? Yes. Multiply? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
We multiply. The opposite of dividing is multiplying. But if I'm going to multiply, you have to multiply everything. Okay? And so the last step here is to take this whole thing and multiply it by 2. What is 2 times 1/2? That's probably the only hardest part. What's 2 times 1/2? What happens to the 2's? Remember what we talked about? When we multiply fractions, it's always top times top and bottom times bottom. What happens then? If I do top times top and bottom times bottom, I get 2 over 2. What's 2 over 2? It's just 1. That was the whole point. I looked at that fraction in front of A. I said, oh, it's a half. To get rid of 1/2, I'm going to multiply everything by 2. Okay? And so here's what you're going to end up with. 2 times a half is 1. We just found that out. 1x. What about 2 times y? What's that turn into? It's plus 2y. And what about 2 times negative 2? Minus 4. And 0 times 2? Still 0. Okay, that's your equation in standard form. If you ever get asked that. I don't know if you can get asked that or not. I could ask another test now because I've taught it to you, but there's really not a lot going on there. You have the solving skills because I've shown you how to move stuff around. That's all it is. Y equals mx plus b. That's just like isolate for y. It's like solving for just a variable this time. Well, you were solving for x before too, but. Okay, does anybody have any questions to that? I'll hit stop on that one too because I think that was a long one. And then I'll give you one more. Last one's a little trickier.